Greetings, folks. This is Brian Harris of the Independent Black Voters. Our vote is not free. We're nonpartisan. We believe that we should talk to everyone running, be you Republican, Democrat, nonpartisan. It is important that we know what your agenda is and whether it fits with our agenda. Today, I'm happy to have Miss Kamilah Bywaters. Did I say that right? Or is it Kamilah? Did I say
It's
that right?
Kamilah. Yep, you're
Kamilah,
right. It's
yes.
good.
Uh, um, I will, for open discussion, I've known Ms. Bywaters for a long time. She has been a fighter for the school system since I've met her, and I'm talking about years and years and years. We're literally going to have a conversation here so that we can understand a little bit more about her and a little bit more about what actually the school board does, because we have a issue a lot of times when I talk to state assembly people who are talking like they're running for the school board. And we really need to understand as voters, what are the roles of the candidates that we are voting for, and have them discuss those issues that are prevalent to the job they are seeking. So without any further ado, Ms. Bywaters, please tell us who you are. Give us a little rundown about who you are, what you're doing, what your values, beliefs, etc., and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. Let me get my notes. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Kamilah Bywaters. Um, I am a candidate for the Board of School Trustees for District E. I have been in the educational space for, wow, a long time. I know it doesn't seem like I'm old, but I'm getting up there. I started off as I actually am a licensed special education teacher. And I first started my career as a teacher back in 2008. I went through an alternate route to licensing program where I got my master's degree in special education. I started teaching within the Clark County School District full time. Through that experience, my experience as a teacher really pushed me into this place of advocacy. Due to my experience and some of the other teachers' experiences, we rebirthed the Las Vegas Alliance of Black School Educators, is where I was really grounded in my advocacy and started learning what was really going on within our schools. So I've had a perspective as a teacher working with my students, and then as an advocate working with students and their families, administrators and teachers. Some of the things that I value at the core of my values are to treat people with decency and respect. I believe that we need to bring humanity back to the center, especially in our school system. If you've been a person who has followed the Clark County School District over the years, we get issues often of the negative culture and climate. These reports are coming not only from students and their families, but also from teachers and administrators who work within the space. So I do have kids that are obviously in the background that are going to be shouting, but it's where I'm at. Some of the things that I believe, I really am empowered enough to believe that our educational system can change, specifically our public school system when we're talking about CCSD. I know that we're at the bottom. We're one of the lower ranked districts across the United States. I do believe that we can see improved results once we get people in leadership positions. That means our school board. Once we get good people in place who not only have the knowledge about educational processes, but also are committed to holding our leaders, i.e. the superintendent, accountable to results.
Boy, that mute and unmute kills me. Great start in.
Yeah.
Ms. Barworth, again, I know your history and I know your passion. Folks, this is more of a discussion, excuse me, than an interview, because I've watched this young lady fight for Clark County for years and years and years. Her group was the first one that actually was addressing the superintendent issue, and I commend them because they were fighting the fight when nobody wanted to fight the fight. So I'm going to ask you about a lot of topics here just to let you help me understand more and help me understand as I talk to other folks. Now, tell me first, identify what are the key responsibilities for the school trustees, because many people throw out many things without really identifying what are the cans, what is it you can do and what is it you can't do.
Yeah. So the board responsibilities, and anyone can look this information up. If you go onto the Clark County School District website, they have the board responsibilities outlined. And there are quite a few, but some that we can discuss today is one that's very important. And they're all important, but one is that they're supposed to exercise informed oversight for the vision of the board and informed oversight over the operations of the Clark County School District. Another responsibility of the Board of School Trustees is to ensure that they're having family and community engagement and ensuring that they're keeping the stakeholders, students, families, everyone engaged in what's happening in the Clark County School District. So those are two. I don't know if we want to go in deeper to those, but another responsibility for the Board of School Trustees, which is very important, because if you have paid attention over time, the Board of School Trustees have lost a lot of their power. And what we've seen with our last superintendent, Jara, was that a lot of the power shifted to the superintendent, which took a lot of the power away from the board. If you've ever asked a board member recently or in the past, hey, what's going on with operations? You could hear board members saying, oh, we don't know what's going on with operations. That's not a part of our purview. That's actually not accurate, because their job is to have informed oversight over operations. But what happened, they've just lost their power. So the board is responsible for writing governing policies in regards to educational outcomes, programs and policies that align with the strategic vision of the board, and ensuring that their governance structure carries out the mission of the board.
And we'll come back some more. So I want to start off with this one question, because many, you have one side that believes that school choice is going to be the solution or the savior to the Clark County public school system. Give me your opinion on that, and what do you believe are the key, I'd say, issues that need to be addressed to improve the school system?
Yeah, that's a very great question. So there's a couple things to think about here when we talk about school choice. So when we're talking about the whole charter school phenomena, oftentimes people think that charter schools are going to be better than a traditional public school, but oftentimes that's not the case. And charter schools they get funding, they create these beautiful buildings, and then often they're not able to really improve their achievement. And if you look on the Nevada Accountability Portal, you can get the statistics for charter schools here in the state of Nevada, and you can also get the statistics for the Clark County School District, and they're not far apart. Obviously, our parents can make any choice that they want, and they have the right to choose that type of freedom to do so. So, but one thing we also have to understand is that the Clark County School District does have charter sponsored schools that they sponsor. And schools, because of magnet, so when we think about school choice, within the Clark County School District, students do have choices where they could decide what magnet programs they want to go to. Where the issue may come, and this has been an issue for some people, is that because of the application process, that sometimes they believe it's unequitable in regards to who's getting picked for these classes. So this is where it becomes a question of concern. One specific school that comes up often is the Las Vegas Academy. It's an art school. And oftentimes, minoritized students don't feel that they have the greatest chance to get into that school because of, give me 1 second.
Hi, Tracy.
Hey, Mr. Harris, how you doing?
Thank you. I apologize, y'all. I got the kids in the background. So oftentimes with the LVA in particular, and it's not only LVA, there are concerns that it's not a fair process to ensure that minoritized students are getting a fair chance at schools. And I know LVA comes up often because it's an art school. So there's students there who like to dance and they have to try out for music programs. But there are opportunities for students to choose what schools they would like to go to. Now, when we talk about outside of the Clark County School District, there are the proponents of school choice focusing on charter schools because they want to break up the Clark County School District. And they want, you're on mute.
Let me jump in because I appreciate you saying some things, and I want to reiterate it. There is school choice to agree already in Clark County school systems. What I've seen as I've talked to more and more of the advocates of school choice, they want the money to move, even if it means moving to private schools. And they talk about it, the money should follow the child. And many times, as I said, it is a private school. And as you said, many of the requirements will lock out some of the people, specifically look at us from school choice more than we can realize. I say this because I'm a 60s baby, and the folks who had more money and they thought they'd get better educations by going to a private school or going to a, Catholic school or whatever, they foot the bill to do that. They paid the dime to go there, but they didn't take public school funding with them. And I think more than anything else, when you talk about this, it's about the money, and it's about trying to redistrict the money outside of the public school system when we should be, if anything, strengthening the public school system. So at least there is a preponderance of equal opportunity. So I just want to throw that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit the nail right on the head. I am a proponent and a fan and a belief in public education. And one discrepancy that in my experience and just by looking at the data, charter schools a lot of charter schools have really been under the radar because there's a lot of focus on Clark County School District. And the concern for me is that if charter schools and private schools start to take money from public education, they're not doing a good job serving students. They haven't proven to have better results. They're definitely not supporting students with disabilities at the maximum um, maximum benefit that they can. And it's even to the point where they're trying to, some schools even try to not admit, which is absolutely against the law, to try to not admit students with disabilities. So charter schools are not hitting the mark. They're not better than our publicly funded schools. And that's just where it is there. And I do believe that our dollars need to stay within the Clark County School District so that we can support our students and all the diverse needs that they have.
Great, great. Let me ask you, because it kind of goes into everything we're seeing here. Um, Many of the same people who want school choice want to break up Clark County. Uh, I live in Henderson. Henderson is actively addressing how to leave Clark County. They don't want to leave the money, but they want to leave Clark County. Um, if I was a person that was just about Henderson, I would probably raise my hand because you would now leave from being the 45th worst to probably pretty high on the school as the rankings nationally. And so I say to myself, and I'm leading into another question, give me your thoughts as you see it on breaking up the Clark County, and what do you think the benefits are to the children as whole, especially the children that are in need of more help, assistance, teachers, etc.?
So I'm an absolute no on breaking up the Clark County School District. And I was definitely a part of that conversation with LaVapsi when we talked about the pros and the cons and what it would look like for breaking up schools. However, breaking up the district, I do understand where it's coming from because parents have been unhappy with the results that we have received in the Clark County School District. So I do understand that, when something's not working or when it seems broken, people are going to want to find a better fit. So I do understand where it comes from. However, during the most recent conversation, so the breaking up of the school district has come up more than once, but the most recent time, I want to say about a year or two ago, where was it? I don't think it was this legislative session, but the last one. It might have been for this one. Where it came back up again, and there was a whole committee around breaking up the school district, and it didn't get through the legislature. It didn't get anywhere. So the question that we asked in the conversations to the committee who was, wanting to lead the breakup of the school district, how can you ensure that districts, once they're split up, that districts in Henderson, districts in North Las Vegas, districts in Summerlin or wherever else they would be equitable? And there was they did not have an answer to that question. So our bottom line was, if you can't show how this is going to be equitable and how a community that is in poverty or a community that doesn't have the status, the economic status as a neighborhood in Mountain's Edge, then we cannot say that this will be a great idea. And their argument is that, oh, well, we need to try something new. Well, let's try something new for the schools that we do have, right? We already have equities and inequality in our large district. So technically what we would be doing is splitting up those inequities and just putting them in other places across the state. So I actually did a research on the consolidation, decentralization, and secession of school district. So technically the word is called secession when the research terminology that is used in this literature is secession. Whenever a school district wants to break off, it's called secession. And what I found in my research is that there has not been a study that has proven that breaking up a school district is going to bring better results. And it just was not there in the literature. So right now, I don't think that we're in a place to have, we're just not in a place to break up the school district. And there has not been a viable plan to show how schools in historic West Las Vegas would be able to have the same funding and the same equality that schools in Henderson would want. And another thing that came up in the conversation is that you could imagine that parents in the suburbs are going to want classes that are, they're going to want the physics classes, they're going to want astronomy, and they may want some other classes that may not be the prime choice in other schools. And they're going to pull funding away from other schools that may not think about those types of classes that other communities would want. And I don't think that means that, there's a community that's better than another. But I think when we're talking about exposure, there's different exposure that certain communities have and they're going to ask for things that are according to what they've been exposed to. So no, breaking up the school district is not an option. It did not get through anywhere in the legislature. And I don't see that happening anytime soon, especially without a plan to ensure that it would be equitable for all students.
Thank you. But there's still an attempt, and I think if you see a change in the state legislature, there will be another attempt.
Yes,
Let's talk
I agree
about
with that. Yeah.
let's talk about the problem, the root cause. And I'm an engineer by trade. And I did spend some time at one of the junior highs as a substitute teacher for a while just to see what was going on. Here you had a school where in 8th grade, everybody was a substitute teacher for math, for the sciences. So you did not have the teachers with the school set to teach. So they were effectively pushing these kids through the system, knowing that they didn't even have an equal opportunity to succeed. You fix the problem from an engineering aspect, you figure out the root cause and you put your time and your effort in saying, how do we fix this? Hey, we figure out whatever it takes to get qualified people in the seats of the lower economic or the lower scored places, which happen to be economic based too. We have to come up with different ways. Even if we can't get the teachers, bring in people who have science and have the ability to teach. They may not have the teaching degree, but hey, if they're paid enough to come in other words, don't pay a substitute. Don't have a kid barely out of high school teaching math and they don't understand math in the areas that are depressed, because they would go ballistic in Henderson. They would go ballistic in Summerlin. But it's okay to just pass the kids through. We know what the problem is. We have to have qualified people teaching these kids, because as long as we continue to ignore that that's not the root cause, then we won't fix the problem. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head, Brian, when you said we need to figure out whatever it takes. And one of the issues is teacher salary. Teacher salary is very low, even though we know that we had a new agreement for teachers. There are many teachers who are still unhappy with what their salary would look like. And the starting salary right now in the district is about 50,000 plus, a little bit more than 50,000. And with inflation and everything that's happening now, that's not enough to keep teachers here. And then for teachers who have, now how it typically has worked for teachers, teachers get paid for their increase in education level, and then also an increase for how many years that they've taught. So there have been some freezes that have caused teachers to not get paid. So it's kind of caused a discrepancy now with where teachers are on the salary scale. And if you paid attention to board meetings, you would see teachers saying how some veteran teachers are gonna be paid less than new teachers. So the first thing, if we wanna have quality teachers, we have to invest in teachers. And I have been very critical of the Clark County School District and some of their spending habits. For example, the Clark County School District spent $55 million on a tutoring program, a virtual tutoring program that could have been used to support teacher funding. Now, the other day, Dr. Linda, former trustee Linda Young, said that the bare minimum for a starting salary for teachers in this state should be $75,000. I absolutely agree with that. And I think that your statement, figuring out whatever it takes to make this happen, is absolutely the responsibility of the leaders. Now, there are, yes, so I do agree that because of our teacher shortage, right now, schools are just scrambling to get bodies in classrooms. And which is not good, because that means there's a lot of students who have teachers in classrooms who are not licensed and who may not have the skill set and the knowledge to teach the classes that they're currently in. Now, there are avenues for career changers to get into the classroom. They're called alternate route to licensing. And this avenue to get career changers in the classroom, like people who are engineers like yourself, if you've been a doctor, if you've been a lawyer, if you've been in corporate America, you could go through an alternate route to licensing program and become a teacher. However, a lot of people have gone through this program, but however, it's not always enticing for others if they've made more money in their field, and then they're being told, okay, well, taking this job is going to be a pay cut. And then you have, you're working with children all day. So it's not, it has not been made to be attractive. And I think if we start there, if we make education attractive and invest in education like we should, we will see people who are more willing to work with the complexities of education. Because in the classroom, you have to work with students, and you work with students with disabilities, you work with students at different age levels, you work with students with behaviors. So we have to make the salary conducive to what the complexity of the classroom is. And I think I hit all the points that you said, but right now, until there's an investment in teacher salary, we're going to have the same problem with teacher shortage, teachers leaving the field, It's not going to get better until teacher salaries can increase.
You. I agree with you, and they should increase even more in the lower performing locations with caveats that are pay for performance. In other words, this is your salary, but this is what you're going to get if the metrics go up in certain areas on the more economically oppressed and the ones that have lower scores. And I think you would find people would buy in and you'd see improvements. So we're on the same page. Now, let me ask you, I hear a lot of parental rights. It's a buzzword that you hear a lot. I've been trying to get better definition of parental rights, and I talked to somebody recently and they were claiming that if a person wanted to do gender reassignment or they wanted to be a different pronoun or whatever, that the schools are effectively allowing the children to make that decision while keeping the parents in the dark. Give me your opinion. Tell me what's going on, because that's what I've heard and don't really understand.
So before I say that, I want to also make sure that when I talk about increasing teacher salary, I want to also make sure that I am including support staff. For me, it's all employees within the district should have a better salary. So I want to make sure that that's known and included, that I am a proponent of the holistic everyone in education. Now, in regards to this parental, it's absurd, because I've heard groups come to board meetings and say that there's hospitals where they're transforming children's gender without parent permission and they're giving out pills. First and foremost, that's not allowed in schools. Teachers, administrators, teachers, health office do not give pills to students. You can't even get Tylenol. If your child has a headache, it is not the policy to give Tylenol to a child. What I do want to address is that there is policy 5138, and that policy is for the rights and needs of students with diverse and gender identities or expressions. So these plans include a team of people, which includes the parent, the equity and diversity department, and what other individuals within the school would be a part of this team to ensure that the child is protected in school, that their information is confidential, and that they're working with the student to make sure that they're safe.
Cool. What happens, and I'm asking you just a scenario, what happens if you bring in a parent and they're totally opposed to everything that's going on there? They're actually upset that it was brought up. How does the school affect that? Because obviously now you have a conflict between the parent and the child, and how is that addressed in the school when you have an issue like that?
Yeah, so now you're saying I want a little bit of clarity on the conversation. So you're saying if the parents are not in agreement with their child's decision, what is the school? So typically how I've seen schools work is, like, for example, I've let my school know for my child, don't bring my child in restorative justice conversations without the parent. We're not going to do it. And I was respected for that. I do understand that there are different situations across the school districts, but there should not, this specific plan, if there are students who are identifying as gender diverse or have gender expressions, this is a conversation with parents. If parents are not in agreement, then they can let the school know, hey, they can let the school know. And I don't see schools going, you can't create a gender support plan without a parent. The parent is a part of this support plan.
That part.
Yeah, the parent is a part of the support plan. So they can't create it without this team. I haven't heard of any. Now, I do know that this particular group is saying that this is happening I guarantee you it's not happening with their children. They're just fussing about it. Like, because all of the fuss that they're making, it's not happening with their children. You cannot have this type of plan without a parent involved,
Okay.
parent or guardian.
Yeah. I heard it through the grapevine, and I've taken it now as being legitimate without facts to base it on.
Yeah. And if it's happening, then if they're trying to create a support plan without the parent, then it's a violation of the policy.
So let me ask you a question, because the frustrating part sometimes, again, for teachers or people who might even want to be a teacher, is, to a point, many of the students believe they have the power. In other words, if you look at me hard, if you touch me, now I'm not touching the back. If you actually brush by, I can make an accusation and you're under investigation. So many people who might consider this say, I don't want the hassle. I don't want to be under a microscope, and I don't want to be trying to teach children who basically believe that there are no repercussions for their actions. And how do we fix that? Do you believe there is an issue there? And how do we fix it so that more people want to teach?
Yeah, I think it is an issue. And I know that I've been researching what teachers are saying specifically about the Gen Z group. There's a lot of teachers who believe, and that's the middle school group right now. They're believing that the middle school and elementary, that there's just no hope for some of them. I do, working with children is a challenge. We are in a space where education is about teaching children values, teaching children values, what's appropriate. And there are children who don't have the home structure, and a lot of them are depending on that structure at school, and which makes it which makes it difficult for teachers, because teachers are coming to work to do academics. And what we're finding is that teachers are, there's counseling happening, there's behavior modifications happening, behavior supports. So it is a challenge, and one way that it can be fixed, I do believe that it can be fixed, because we have seen that there are some teachers who do great with students, who do great with some of the most challenging students in our district. And then there are some individuals who are not the best at, working with students. I think it can be fixed if, one, we have strategic leadership, everybody's on the same page, and everyone is firm, consistent, and fair. And if we don't have that, then students know how to work the program. They know how to work it and say, oh, this teacher will let me do this and this teacher won't. I've been to a couple schools in middle school that do a phenomenal job of making sure that their hallways are monitored, so that students aren't getting out of the way. They're making students walk this, they're making students they're being strict on the students, not in a bad way. They're being strict. Say that again. They're making them follow the rules, right? And it's important in schools that we have this, because if students are unruly, we're not going to be able to learn. They're impacting their own learning, and then they're impacting the learning of others. So I think that this can be fixed or improved in several ways. One, leadership being on the same page. Two, Two, teachers having the behavior supports that are needed and are having the training in working with behavior management. And three, what we're finding in research is that there's a lot of cultural mismatch. So we have people who are, majority of the education field is white women. Mm-hmm. Our school system is changing. Majority of our students are minoritized. So we have Black students and Hispanic students that are growing in numbers. Our Asian population, Pacific Islander, are growing in numbers. So what we have is a mismatch with teachers and students. And sometimes, because there's not an understanding of cultural differences, that you may think that a child is being disrespectful when really that's just a part of their culture. Now, we know what disrespect is, and being mean and rude is, but it is important that teachers have the ability to understand when there's behaviors that are a part of a person's culture versus a behavior that is a kid just not having discipline or being evil or mean.
You are 100% on the right page there. I was going to talk about the fact of the need to have a more diverse teacher with a focus on Black men first and Black women, because you have to understand, I grew up in Gary, Indiana. I graduated from Gary Roosevelt, a public school that was 99.9% Black, where the teachers were 97 to 98% Black, where the teachers lived in your neighborhood, where the teachers taught sometimes your parents. So you had a connection with them. You were afraid to fall out of line because you knew they knew your mama, they knew your daddy. And that is important to learning. And I think we have to press to start looking at the HBCUs. We have to press to start looking under rocks for people that are more diverse, and I'm gonna call it. We need more Black men. We need more Black women. We need more Hispanic men and more Hispanic women. We have to diversify our teachers so that we're able to interact and we understand the cultures and the triggers that will drive these kids to success.
Absolutely. And I think, and not I think, but I know that is absolutely what is unique about me as a school board leader. I am very culturally responsive, which means that I honor and respect various cultures. And I understand what it means to be culturally sustaining for all of our population of students. And I value people's backgrounds, their culture, their religion, who they are, and who they bring to our educational spaces. And when we don't have leaders who value culture and students' background and families' backgrounds, we get ourselves in just a madhouse of disrespect and no one can find common ground. And I think that's absolutely what makes me unique as a leader, is that I can engage with anyone. And I absolutely love it and value and expect to.
You know what? Your track record speaks for itself, Miss Bywaters. And I don't do this a lot on my calls, but we, the independent Black voters, are going to endorse Miss Kamilah Bywaters for District E. We need people like you. You've shown years and years and years of dedication to this public school system and the children. You have children in here. You understand what's going on. So not only are we going to endorse you, and I say this about the independent Black voters on Facebook, which we are now looking to become an independent Black voters Nevada chapter, we want to help you win. We're going to have our first of a series of endorsement parties. Your name will now be part of the plan, the party plan. Again, there'll be more
Yay!
people. So
Thank you.
Tracy, come out, please come bring your friends. It's going to be at a friend of mine's house. It'll be this Sunday from 2 to 6. We're going to party and celebrate holiday, St. Patrick's Day, but we're also going to celebrate our initial endorsement people through the Black book. I'm sorry, independent Black voters. And so I look to see you all out there. And I look to see you on the board. So thank you very much. Again, this was more of a conversation, folks. This was, we know the body of works here. We know that Ms. Bywaters has committed to go in here and fight for the children and to fight for the Clark County School District with no ulterior motives. Many of the people coming in, they have ulterior motives, folks. You know, when you hear people say certain buzzwords, you start to know they have ulterior motives. If we love our people, and I'm talking about our children, then we should not be playing politics. We should be playing how do we improve
Right.
the education for all children, not just the financially solvent children, not just the children who have a step up already, while we forget those who are being left behind. And I think Ms. Bywaters will do that. She will fight for everyone, especially for the people who need her help the most. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and congratulations on your endorsement. And I'll let you kind of finish us off after that.
Well, thank you, Brian. First, I want to say thank you to you and all the work that you do in the community for bringing candidates to your platform. You have a big following. You have a big following, and I think it is absolutely important that we have people who are engaged like you, who believe in the importance of knowing who you're voting for. Since I've been canvassing out in the community, I have been absolutely just like, my heart has just sunk, because there's so many people I'm knocking on doors who have no clue what's really going on in our school system. And it makes me sad, because there's like a few people who are making decisions. And please know that I am here for you, community. I am here to bring your voice back to education, to public education, and to ensure that we're working together with our students, their families, teachers, administrators, support staff, that we're all working together to improve our educational system. I am definitely empowered enough to believe that we can change this. And my goal is to advocate for us. This is about all of us. I don't want to speak on behalf of anyone. I want to speak with everyone. So thank you again, Brian, for the work that you're doing. I think it is absolutely honorable and necessary in our community. Thank you for the endorsement. I can't wait to let my campaign manager know. He's going to be so excited. And, I look forward to working with everyone to create opportunities for our students.
Okay. And do me a favor, tell all of your friends and your enemies and anybody who will listen to join the Independent Black Voters on Facebook.
I will.
While we are called the Independent Black Voters, we tell people the Black agenda is the American agenda. We focus on the issues that are prevalent to all Americans. We just get hit the hardest. So we thank you. We need you to help us, because we want to grow a strong voice that is for the people, not the parties. And it will focus on the agenda issues that are prevalent to us, and not the buzzwords that sound good to the politicians. Thank you again, Ms. Bywaters. Tracy, it's always good. I don't see you, but I see your name, so that's good. But everybody else, I encourage you, be informed voters. Don't just take what somebody else says for gospel. Check it out yourself. Thank you very much. I'm going to pause the recording so we can talk for a quick minute.
All right, cool.